Amen. But today is a great day. We really are grateful to God. All of you guys look so beautiful. Really look beautiful. You know, there are times in life when you just have to accept yourself before any other person can accept you. We are rejected because we start by rejecting ourselves. If you begin by rejecting yourself, the rest of the people are going to reject you. But you must be confident in yourself that you are beautiful even before someone tells you that you are. That you look great even before someone tells you you are. That you are blessed even before someone tells you you are. Every other person's word should be a compliment to you, but you must be sure that you are blessed by God. Are you blessed by God? Yes. Are you a blessed woman? Are you faithful? Yes. Praise God. Amen. Today we are honored to have with us a couple that I honor so much. I see them as parents to me. Their involvement with the multinational churches is really a great help to us. Understand, when you come from overseas and come here, church is not run here like wherever we are coming from. It is very different, and you need to have people that can help you in putting you in the rightful position that you belong, so that you will not be in trouble, because the Bible says that we need to honor the government. Amen. And this couple, they are purely and completely and strongly involved to making sure that this is ensured, that it's happening well. They do have a church, but I don't know how long they spend in their own church. They go around just to visit and just to encourage and just to comfort and just to build relationship. We are proud of them. And we are blessed for having them in our lives. To know that we have someone that we can turn to when we are in trouble, and we know that their phone lines are open to be able to help us in words and in encouragement and in edification and instructions. I'm glad to have with us Pastor Chris and Erica. Put your hands together for them. I just want us all to stand, not for a person, but for the word of God that is coming forth. And today we are pleased to have with us Pastor Erica, who is going to bring God's word to us. Amen. Pastor Erica, she is very, she's an open woman. I love her. She's a mother to many. And she's a spiritual mother as well to many. She's written books. She does trainings on women and all this stuff. If you need her in your programs, it doesn't even have to be church program. It can be somewhere where we need women to be edified and to be encouraged. I believe in her calling, and I believe in what God is doing in and through her life, and she has been a blessing to many. Why can we just put our hands together?
Well, thank you so much. I feel thoroughly spoiled. I don't think I could ever go to a Mother's Day and just plain Aussie church. Because this is a wonderful festivity you're doing here. But you know, I commend you. Because you're in a country where the tide wants to change. Some people want to change the tide. And just this morning, Chris said, did you hear about that school where Mother's Day cards are banned so as not to use Happy Mother's Day anymore? And so now the cards have to say Happy Special Day to a special person, but they don't want to say mother, just so not to offend the transgender mothers. We live in a time of deception. I think you know this. I think you can tell. And this is why God has brought you to this nation. You are missionaries here.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you for coming. You are not afraid. You are not afraid to say what you believe. And people will respect you because they can see that you've come from someplace else. They're not, if Chris said that, they'll shut him down no time at all, but they will respect you. So thank you for coming here and be brave. I know you are brave. I don't want to spend much time in introductions, but I thank the Lord for my brother Joseph and Sister Fatmata. I look at Brother Joseph and I think he's my little brother from another mother. You know how you connect to some people like that. So he's my little brother. And we have the same father. But today I want to speak about a wonderful woman. This woman's life has inspired me all the 42 years of motherhood that I've had, or 42 years of marriage. My wonderful husband who's sitting here. His name is Chris. He takes good care of me. And so I'll be really thrilled. But this woman's story is just amazing. And I just want you to relax. Don't look at the time. They're going to wait for us. Nothing's going to happen out there until we're finished. So just relax and I'll read you a story. I know a lot of you know this story very well, but there might be some people that don't know it. So I'm just going to read your story. Okay? So I'm reading for 2 Kings chapter 4. It's Elisha and the woman from Shunem. One day Elisha went to the town of Shunem. A wealthy, notable woman lived there, and she urged him to come to her home for a meal. After that, whenever he passed that way, he would stop there for something to eat. And she said to her husband, I am sure that this man who stops in from time to time is a holy man of God. Let's build him a small room for him on the roof and furnish it with a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp. Then he will have a place to stay whenever he comes by. One day Elisha returned to Shunem and he went up to his upper room to rest. And he said to his servant Gehazi, tell the woman from Shunem I want to speak to her. When she appeared, Elisha said to Gehazi, tell her, we appreciate your kind concern you've shown us. What can we do for you? Can we put in a good word for you for the king or the commander of the army? No, she replied. My family takes good care of me. Later, Elisha asked Gehazi, what can we do for her? And Gehazi replied, well, she doesn't have a son, and her husband is an old man. Call her back again, Elisha told him. And when the woman returned, Elisha said to her as she stood on the doorway, next year, at this time, you will be holding a son in your arms. Amen. Oh, no, my Lord, she cried, oh, man of God, don't deceive me and get my hopes up like that. But sure enough, the woman soon became pregnant. And at that time, the following year, she had a son, just as Elisha had said. And let's just bow our head. Close our eyes a minute. Holy Spirit, this is your word, and I pray that you speak to each one of you, one of us, mothers, in a very intimate way. This message is not just for mothers, for everybody, but especially for you. So I see this woman is not, we don't know her name. I think when I get to heaven, I'm going to say, after seeing Jesus and Abraham, I'm going to say, where is she? Where is the Shunammite? I just want to find her because throughout all my life, this woman has inspired me. I want to know her name. We don't know her name. But we know that she was a notable woman. In the Hebrew Bible, it says that she was a great woman. She was just a great woman. She was distinguished, she was prominent, she was wealthy, but she was well known. In short, she was a good woman. And sometimes I feel like we need to think a minute about our reputation. What do people say about us? You know, reputation is not something that I put on myself. I can't put my reputation on me. People give us a reputation. And so when Chris and I have been in the mission field and was also pastored, and we've had casserole days, and everybody knew that there was a special person in that church that had a reputation for a good cook. And you know what? Her casserole was the first one to go. because everybody wanted a bit of her casserole. She had a reputation of a good cook. It's worth it a minute for us to think for a minute and say, what is my reputation? Because we carry the name of Jesus. So that's even doubly important. But I like the fact that she is the one that says to her husband, you know, I am sure that this man is a holy man of God. It's interesting because it's the only time in the Bible that a prophet is referred to as a holy man of God. They weren't using that name for a prophet. And she puts it. But it gives me the understanding that she has discernment, because Shunem was not where the living God, Yahweh, was being worshipped. It was a place where there was a lot of different gods. Baal worship, where they sacrificed children on fire, and they had all kinds of promiscuous things to do. And she lived in a place where there were many gods. And for her to have this knowledge, I'm sure this one, this man, he's not like the other people. He's not like the other priests of Baal. He's a man, a holy man of God. Shows me that she had discernment. And throughout my time in ministry and also as a mother, I have seen how much mothers need discernment. I didn't have it. The first few years as a missionary wife, I didn't have discernment. And you look at something and something else looks just so genuine. And you think, yeah, I believe that too. And they go, no, it was a fake. It was a counterfeit. And I didn't know the difference. And it was then that I started panicking almost in my spirit. I said, Lord, you need to open my eyes. And he did. But this is something that all mothers need. The other thing that always touches me, especially as a missionary or somebody in ministry, is the fact that she's very hospitable. She's hospitable and she's generous. She said, let us make this man a small room for him so that every time he comes, he can stay there. And every time that he came by, she would say, come and eat at my house. Hospitality is so important to God. You all know this verse when it says, do not forget to entertain strangers. For by doing so, some of you have unwittingly entertained who? Angels. And the thing that I have found is that hospitality is a wonderful gift that probably doesn't get as much acknowledgement among us as it should. It's a gift that is very pleasing to God. And it's wonderful when the wife has that gift. This was very evident to us when we came back to Australia after being 20 years in the mission field. And we were going to have a missions conference in Ballarat. Have you gone to Ballarat? Yeah. So in Ballarat. And so we were going to go and spend the night. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Chris and I have 5 children. So we were going to go and spend the night, but there's 7 of us, right? 5 children and 2 parents. And the person that was inviting us for the missions conference at his church had come to Melbourne, and he said, I really want you to come. I want you to bring all your children, and you can stay at home with me in my house. And I said, look, I think his name was Mark. Mark, we're 7. Don't worry about it. We'll just find a cheap motel somewhere. No. Oh, Lord, you have to stay in our house. And oh, yeah, absolutely, we'll be delighted. Okay. So we arrived on the time when we were supposed to have the conference the following day, and we arrive, and it's, nearly sunset, and we come in and we meet his wife. And we say, oh, Julie, thank you so much for opening your house to us. It can't be easy, 7 people. 7 people, thank you so much. And you know what she said? It wasn't my idea. I said, excuse me? It wasn't my idea. My husband said I had to do it so the kids can sleep in the floor and you can sleep over it. Oh my goodness. I thought, Chris, please, let's get out of here. But that's why it's a wonderful gift. I grew up also as a missionary kid myself, but my parents were missionaries as well in the country of Bolivia. Have you ever heard of Bolivia?
Yeah.
Oh, you're smarter than I am. But I don't know much geography outside of South America and the Americas. Anyway, in Bolivia. So in the 1965, who was alive in 1965? I can see a lot of you. A lot of you are too young. In 1965, growing up in Bolivia, and you know what? Churches from the States would send us barrels of clothing. Now the clothing was put in barrels from op shops that couldn't sell their clothes. So they couldn't sell the clothes, give it to the missionary. I got the barrels, put in 3 pounds of mothballs, lock it up and put it on a boat, and it would take about 2 or 3 years to arrive to Bolivia. And then my father would go and have to pay money into customs, to get the barrel out, and then he'd bring it to the backyard and he'd say, everybody stand back. And with the hammer, he'd break the lock and open the thing. The fumes from the mothballs, if you were standing anywhere near, you'd faint. So, you had to stand back. But those were the clothes that they expected missionaries to wear. And we did. But it's always very touching to me that she doesn't say, why don't we build ourselves a brand new flat on the top of the roof? Better vision, we can have all this wonderful panorama, and we'll give the prophet our old room. That would have been okay. But she didn't. She gave the new, the best to the prophet. And this is going to be rewarded. This is going to be rewarded. If she hadn't been hospitable, and if she hadn't been so generous, she would have missed out on the miracle of her life. But because she got a miracle. Now, to me, it's interesting, too, that when the prophet wants to thank her, he says, oh, you've got to have a reward. How can we thank you? Can I speak to the general? Can I speak to the king? Is there anything you need, any protection? They're always going to war. Do you want me to tell the captain of the army to have, security around your house? She says, no, everybody takes care of me. I'm fine. But she wasn't entirely fine. Because her husband is old. We know that about him. And she had never been able to have a child. Now, commentaries, the people that write commentaries, tell us that this woman would have been around 40. So she had been married quite a long time and not been able to have a baby. And her husband was old, so he could have been 80, which was quite normal that the husbands were a lot older than the wives. And there was no hope in her to have a baby. The thing back then was that a child was more than just having a little baby. It was her old age pension. It was the way in which they could pass on all their wealth and their land. If her husband had passed away, she wouldn't have been able to inherit. She would have been left destitute. No child to look after her, no old age pension. She would have had to rely on some family member to please look after her or take her under their wings. So she wasn't entirely fine, but she seems to have a wonderful word that is called contentment. She was content. And in the Hebrew, the word when she says, my family takes good care of her, it was really shalom. Everything's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Sometimes I wonder if a prophet was to ask me, what can I give you for a reward? What would you have asked for? I would have started my list with, let's see. Just a minute, I would say, better take a pencil and paper because my list could be kind of long. I'll start with a new fridge. I think I need a new fridge. And, my washer's about to go, so a washer. I could have made a long list, but it boggles my mind that this woman is satisfied. And the thing is, we live in a society, in case you haven't noticed, where advertisement, I didn't know this, but I had to look it up, advertisement is geared to women. Do you ever sit and watch the commercials, they're geared to women. Because they know that the level of dissatisfaction in a woman is easier to bait than men's. And so it makes tells us women that we need a new fridge. We need one that not only makes ice cubes and keeps your milk some temperature, but it's that kind of fridge that also tells you when you're running out of orange juice. Have you seen those fridges? You've got a computer on the fridge. It tells you when you're running out of meat, when you're running out of... Oh my goodness, I need one of those because Lord knows that I go shopping and then I come home and I think, oh, I forgot half the things I needed. So I need a fridge that can talk to me like that. But this is why commercials are aimed at women. All of them are aimed at women. The best thing you can do is put your commercials on mute and not pay any attention. The word of contentment is a wonderful word, and we don't use it a lot. But you know, what we use a lot is prosper. And there's more books in the Christian bookstores and in churches about how to prosper than there are about how to be content. The thing that gets to me every time is that we can't take anything home, anything with us. You know, when the day comes and the Lord calls you home, everything that you've struggled so much to get, your car, your house, your jewelry, your perfume, your clothes, everything stays back. You can't take anything with you. And I like what Paul says. He says in Philippians 4, I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, for I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can live without anything, and we have. And we can live in abundance. So, to be content in a society such as the one that we live in, that is very materialistic, it requires us to be focused. When God blesses, amen. But until I have it, I don't have to strive. I don't have to be discontent. One saying that's always clear in my mind is the one where it says, I used to complain that I didn't have enough shoes until I saw somebody without any feet. There's people without feet. So, contentment. Count your blessings. Name them one by one. Now it's interesting that the story, if it would end it right where we ended in verse 17, it would be a great story. But it would be a great story that we've heard other times. Sarah was also barren, Elizabeth was also barren. They're all gifts from God. That's a good. But the thing about this story and the thing about this woman is amazing to see what happens after. Verse 18, one day when her child was older, so he must have been about 8 or 9, he went out to help his father who was working with the harvesters. And suddenly he cried out, my head hurts, my head hurts. And his father said to one of his servants, carry him home to his mother. So the servant took him home, and his mother held him on her lap. But around noontime, he died. What? It's almost incongruous, you know, that God gives you a gift and then he takes it away. This is crisis. Why is God allowing this? This is what happens when we have a time of crisis. The first thing we say, why is God allowing this? Have you ever had a crisis? How many moms can put up their hands and say, I've been through crisis? More than once. Yeah. Why is God allowing this? Why is God allowing this? But what I love is the way she handles her crisis. Verse 21, she carried the boy up and laid him on the bed of the man of God. Then she shut the door and left him there. Isn't she amazing? I mean, I'm thinking, if my son, my only son, my precious son, the one that I I just couldn't believe I'd ever get this wonderful gift from God had passed away on my lap. I don't think I would have had the strength to just carry him, take him up to the room of the prophet, put him out on his bed, and close the door and not say anything to anybody. I know I would have been, I'm of Italian descent, so you know all the emotions come to the surface. I would have gone, wow, Chris, do something, you know. I would have burst out of my skin. But this woman fascinates me because she just gets up, takes this baby, and puts it on the bed of the man of God. Closes the door, doesn't say anything to anybody. Verse 22, she sent a message to her husband. Is she going to tell him? Send one of the servants and a donkey so that I can hurry to the man of God and come right back. She doesn't even tell her husband. And you know, through the years pondering about why didn't she tell her husband, I had two answers. One was, she's wise. See, remember the husband is old. And she could have gone out and said, our son is dead. And he would have said, oh. And she could have had two deaths in one day. You know. But through the years I've also seen a different reason why she didn't tell her husband. And this was because sometimes other people don't have the faith you have. And I can just imagine that if she would have said, oh, my husband, the boy is dead. He could have said, oh, it's tragic. Well, we're going to have to dig a grave. I mean, you know, men are so logical that he would have said, yeah, we're going to call the funeral place and we're going to start digging a hole and that's what else can you do? But she is holding on to faith and she doesn't want to share it because sometimes we have faith for something and if we share it with the wrong people and they don't have the faith, they can talk you out of faith. Yeah. Have you ever done that before? Yes, I have too. And they make you feel like you're stupid. And you think, gosh, it's so silly. My God, of course, you're so right. And there goes my miracle. Because instead of holding on to faith, which doesn't seem logical, it doesn't seem right, it doesn't seem like it could possibly happen, it's too great a thing that I'm asking for, let it go. Because somebody talked me out of it. So anyway, she decides not to tell him. And she's going to the prophet. Verse 23, the husband. He's a bit bewildered, no? He says, why go today? Yes, it's neither new moon festival nor a Sabbath. But she said, it'll be all right. Shalom. Shalom. Be at peace. No hint that there's disaster in the house. No hint. So she saddled the donkey and said to the servant, hurry, and don't slow down unless I tell you to. And as she approached the man of God in Mount Carmel, Elisha saw her from a distance, and he said to Gehazi, look, the woman from Shunem is coming. Run out to meet her and ask her, is everything all right with you? Your husband and your child? And the woman said to Gehazi, everything's fine. What's the word? Shalom. Shalom. Be at peace. I'm not talking to you. There's nothing you can offer me. I'm looking for the one that has the power. You can't give me anything, so I'm not even going to waste my breath with you.